All right, so let's take a look at chapter 4. It's been a long time, seems like, since we've done this stuff. So hopefully we'll get done chapter 4 and maybe part of chapter 5. I don't know if we'll get finished all of chapter 5. So I don't know, got a little more than half an hour. All right, let's try to do these. I'm not going to go through like every single step to every single problem, okay? But we'll give you a basic idea of what we're supposed to do. All right, so 1, 2, and 3. It says state the dimensions. By the way, the test is going to be 40 questions.
High school teachers, the high school students should be cleaning out their lockers now. Trash bags are available in the office. Middle school will be cleaning out their lockers next period. Thank you.
So there's going to be 40 questions on it. They're going to be taken right from these test questions. All right. So if you know these tests, don't study anything else. Just study what I'm doing on these reviews right here. Okay. So here it goes. And if you were not here for this stuff, I would write this stuff down. Okay. So it says state the dimensions of matrix A. Remember, this is how many rows. Oops. Let me change that to a color where you can see. That'd be helpful. So this is how many rows you have, and this is how many columns you have. So when it says state the dimensions, it's rows by columns. It's not times. We're not actually multiplying. It's this by this, right? It's like a rectangle is a 3 by 2. You put 3x2, all right? So rows and columns. So how many rows, how many columns does this have? This is 4 by 4, is that what you said?
4 by 3.
Okay, rows. First is rows. How many rows do we have? Do we have 4? You sure? That's 1 row. This is row 1. This is row 2. This is row 3. So we got 3 rows. This is a row, and a row. So how many rows? 3. By how many columns? There's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Everybody see that? So you got one right. Pretty easy. All right. It says state the value of this. What in the world does that mean? Well, when it says A, it just is like one of these. All of these are an A, a little a, since it's a capital A. This means rows and columns right here. So this means what number is in the 3rd row and 2nd column. So what do? We count over to the 3rd row, 2nd column, and what is it? It's a 1. So what is the value? What's in that spot? A 1 is in that spot. So that's pretty easy, isn't it? Everybody got that? Yeah. It says what element has the value of 21? So here's the 21. So it's basically asking you this. All right, what row, what column? So we'll put a little A right there. So what row is that in? 1st row. And then what column? 3rd column. So you put A, 1, 3. It's not really a 13. Okay, it just means row, column. We good with that? These next two, even if you never learned this stuff before in your life, I bet you could do it. Let me change the size of this. All right, so if I'm going to add, these are matrices, okay? A matrix is the singular, and a matrice, or a yeah, how do we say that? Matrices, right? Yes, I was saying it right. It sounded weird. Matrices is plural for a matrix. A matrix is something, it's just a group of numbers that we organize in these little brackets, all right? That's what a matrix is. Or if you have 2 of them, it would be 2 what? Matrices. All right, somebody get the door. All right, so how do you think, Ashton, you weren't here for this, but how do you think you would add these together? Yeah, come on, just off the top of your head, how do you think, if I was to add these together?
All these numbers are messed up. It says this used for 7 and 8, but 8.
Ah, crap. All right, well, you know what I mean. It's 6 and 7.
This one's 9 and 10, but you want me to use that for 10? And because 9 is...
Shoot, how did I not see that? I took the test today, and I read every problem on here. This goes for 6 and 7. Okay, and...
Is that for...
Yeah, this is for 9 and 10. So that's right. That should be 6 and 7,
Was it for
not
9? I
7.
thought that was just a coordinate.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is just for 10. Sorry. Remind me, are you going to be in here for that class or are you leaving?
I'm leaving.
You're leaving. Okay, I'll have to remember to say that. Thanks for pointing that out, though. All right, so what do you think?
If I had to take a wild guess, I'd probably say 1, like 5 plus 1.
You got it.
And then 2 plus 7.
Yep, so you add those together. So what's 5 and 1? That's a 6. And then what's 2 and 7? That's a 9. And what's 3 and 2? That's a 5. And then 1 and 6, that's a 7. So that's a wild guess, thanks to Geo. All right. All right. Now, without any help, I bet you can figure this out. What's this going to be? Well, yes, he's right, because of that 4 right there. When you have a number outside of this, we call that a scalar number. All right. So what? Well, he said 8, but he was talking about this. I'm sure he was, right? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply that number on the outside of that parentheses. So that just means we're taking 4 and multiplying it by everything in here. All right. So 4 times 2 is, that's an 8. And then that's going to be 12. This is going to be 4. And this is going to be 20. All right. So we're going to take that matrix and then subtract this matrix from it. -1, 2, -3. Okay? So let's do it. It's just like this, except it's subtraction this time. So it's 8 minus 1, which is 7. See, that's that first row, first column. We're going to put it there. Let's do this one. First row, second column. 12 minus negative. What's 12 minus -1? 13. Okay? And then 4 minus 2. And then 20 minus -3, which is 23. And there you go. So the first, 5 problems, that's a quarter of the test, you should be able to get right. Would you agree?
Yes.
It gets a little tougher after this. All right, but that was the easy part. All right. This one, I got to remember how to do this myself. I haven't done this since I taught it to you guys. Let's see, x minus 2. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, I'll tell you what, let's push this over a little bit. Nah, I'll try to squeeze it in here. Because normally we don't write on the test itself, we write on the answer sheet, so that's why I don't have much room here. But what I would do here first is this. See, this is x minus 2, but it's just like a regular math problem. Like if you said x minus 2 times 5, like that, okay? If you had something like that, what would you do? You wouldn't go x minus 2, you'd go what? -2 times 5, so this would be what? X minus 10. Would you agree? So this right here, you just keep the x there, and then what are you going to do? It's going to be x minus, right? Because you're minusing all this stuff right here. Let's see, is that how I want to write it? Yeah, it is. So what's this going to be? Now, we already took the minus and we have it here. Would you agree? So really what we're doing is just taking the 2. Probably shouldn't even circle that. Let's circle the 2. We're going to take that 2, we're going to multiply it by everything in this matrix. So what's that going to give us? It's going to multiply 6. Okay? And then times 2, 10. And then times 2, this is going to be a -4, right? Because I already have this negative right here, okay? So it's just 2 times -2, which is -4, and then 2 times 1, which is just 2. Agreed? Okay, equals. Now let's do this. Let's take half of everything in here. Again, let me just make sure, looking at my notes, make sure I do this right. So half of 12 is 6. Half of 6 is 3. Half of 0 is 0. Half of 7, we're just going to write it 7 over 2. All right, so that's not so bad, is it? What do you do when you have, in just regular algebra, what if you had like x minus 3 equals 7? You add a 3 to both sides. So what do you think you do to this matrix? You're going to add that matrix to this side. All right, treat it just like a number. Does that make sense? All right, so we add it over here. So then we'll get the x by itself, and this will cancel. Right, we added it to this, everything would be a 0, so we add it to this side right here. So what's that going to give us? 6, 10, negative 4, 2. Okay? And now, what do we do with these two matrices? Just add them up. All right, so add up the ones in the same spot. All right, so we got 6 and 6 gives us 12, 3 and 10, 13, 0 and negative 4, negative 4, 7 halves and 2. Well, let's write this as 4 halves. So what's 7 halves plus 4 halves? That's 11 halves. Okay, and then that would be your answer right there. X equals, yep, I got it right here. X equals this. I just didn't have enough room. Make sense? Okay. Seems like this might be a waste of time. I don't know. Let's do number 7. Now this is where, if you've never seen this stuff before, this is where it gets a little bit weird. All right, but if you saw it before, you should remember how to do it. What? Yes, go. Oh, goodness. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Just follow me, all right, and see what happens. Do you see how these are all coefficients? You got a coefficient right there as a 1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write this without the x's, y's, and z's as a matrix, all right? And here's what I'm going to do. Just take the matrices, or just take the elements, the numbers inside that matrix. So I would have a 3. What's the coefficient here? A 1, and the coefficient there is negative 4. So watch. I go 3, 1, negative 4. Make sense? All right. We'll do the 22 in a second. All right, but I want to do something else before I do that. Tell you what, I'll put the 22 over here. I'm going to leave a little space because I'm going to put something in between. All right? Everybody good? And do the same thing here. What's that going to be? 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and put this number over here. Again, we're going to put something here in a minute. It would be, thank you. Yep. And then coefficients here, what's that going to be? A 1, a negative 1, and a positive 2, and this is going to be 16. All right, so this is where it gets a little bit weird. All these things are being multiplied by a x, a y, and a z. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this matrix. We're going to put an equals. I'll tell you what, I'll just put the equals right in the middle. All right? And we're going to put an x, a y, and a z right there. And actually, that's all you have to do on this problem, because it just says write the system as a matrix equation. So you don't have to do anything with this. You don't have to solve for x, y, and z. We're going to do that later, but right now, that's all they ask you to do. Write the system as a matrix equation, and this whole thing is how you do it. It's really not that difficult. You didn't have to do any math or anything. You just write it as a matrix. So you take the coefficients, you write them all out, and then the x, y, and z, you write it like this, and then what it's equal to, you just put it after like that. This should be in a matrix, by the way, sorry. Or in brackets to make it a matrix. So far, that's 7 problems. I bet you everybody in here that didn't do this before can do this now. Do you think? I think so. If you've never seen it before, I think you should be able to do it now. Now, this is where it gets a little weird. Now, normally, because I have so many of you that came in after we taught this stuff, so I'm taking a little extra time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take this much time for the other stuff. So my suggestion is to go and watch chapter 4 on how to do these. Okay? I don't know. I'm thinking in my head how to make this fair for you guys that came in late. I don't know if I'm going to say you don't have to do any of them. I don't know. I got to think about it. Right? But I am trying to make it fair for you and not just trying to squeeze a whole chapter into one class period. All right, that would be unfair. So doing this right here, when you multiply two matrices together, here's what we're going to do. Just right there is good. Thanks. What is this? Number 8? All right, let me just double check. Make sure. Yeah. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to do this. This is how you do matrix multiplication. It's a little different. I wish I had more room here. I'll just try to squeeze it in. All right, everybody watch. Even for the people that have had this before, you may forget how to do this. So you're going to multiply these together, okay, the first and the first. Do you see that? So we're going to multiply the first column, or sorry, the first row times the first column, all right? So I'm going to go negative, let's just do it in our head. What's negative 3 times 5? Negative 15. But then, this is weird, all right, but this is how you do this. Then you're going to take the next one in the row and the next one in the column. You're going to multiply them together, and then you're going to add them to this, all right? So we go 4 times 0. What's 4 times 0? 0. And we're going to add it to that. So this is going to be the first element in my answer matrix. So let's do it again.
Once the trash bags are filled or you're done with them,
We're trying to
please
have
walk
school
to the
here.
station outside of the dumpsters. Thank you.
If I had a nickel for every interruption we've had today, I'd be a rich man. All right, here we go. So we take these two, we add them, or we multiply them, we get negative 15. Then we take the next one over this row, the next one down this column. We multiply those together, then we add them together. All right? Now what we're going to do, again, give me a second. I just want to make sure I do this right because it's been a long time since I've done it. We're going to take this one times this one. All right? So we're going to go, we go these two, and then these two. And then we're going to go these two, and then these two right here. Do you see that? Just got to follow the pattern, okay? Just follow the pattern. So you do the circles, you multiply them, then you take the squares, you multiply them, add them together. Now we do it again. This time we're going to take the circles, right? And then multiply them. What do we get? Negative 6. And then we take the squares, multiply those. What do we get? Positive, or it's negative 8, or just plus negative 8, or just minus 8, okay? And that's going to be a negative 14. So what's my answer? My top answer is going to be, my top element is going to be negative 15. The one on the top right is going to be negative 14, all right? Now, let's do it again, but now, I'll tell you what, I'll do it with a different color, all right, just to make it pop a little bit and to keep things straight. So now what we're going to do is the same thing, but instead of the top row, what we're going to do is the bottom row, all right? So we're going to take this one. Let me just see again. I want to make sure. Yes. So what we're going to do is take this bottom row, and we're going to so what we're doing is this. We're taking this row, multiplying it by this and this. All right? That's what we did for the first one, right? We took the first row, we multiplied it by this column, and then this column. All right? And that's what we're going to do for this row. So I'm going to take this row right here, I'm going to multiply it by the same stuff that I multiplied the other ones by. All right? That and that. It takes a while to get used to this. All right? So it's negative 5 times 0, which is 0. I'm sorry. Got to start at the top. It's negative 5 times 5. It's the circles, right? So negative 5, or sorry, it's not a negative. Why do I keep saying that? It's 5 times 5, which is 25. And then it's what? The squares. And this one. You see that? negative 1 and 0 times 0 is 0, so it's 25 plus 0. Then we do the next one over, all right? And then we multiply it by these, all right? So we're going to take that negative 1 and multiply it. I'm sorry. Yeah, we did the 5. Oh. I got to get used to this myself because it's been months since we've done this. So it's going to be 5 times 0, or 5 times 5, 5 times 0. Then it's going to be negative 1 times... Hold on. It's 5 times 5, right, which is 25. And then it's going to be negative 1 times 0, which is 0. Then we're going to go... Yes, then we're going to go this one times this one, the circles. So 5 times 2 is 10. See that? So we do the circles, and then we do the squares. Negative 1 times negative 2 is 2. There we go. So when I do this, I'm going to put the mic down. Lower this so I can reach it. I think this is what I'm doing. So go like this and this. Oh, here's what I do. Watch. Take my fingers, right? I do this one, and I move this over, I move that one down. You see that? Then I come, and then, so that'll give me both of these. And then I drop down here, I do this one, move that over, move that down, then I get this. Then I do this one, and then, which is the 10, and I move it down, and I get that. So, if you think of that, watch. Take your fingers, go like this, right? Then you jump over to the other column, go like this, and go like this. That gives me those. Then I jump down to that second row. This one, and this one, and then this one, and this one. See what I do? Watch the video, okay? That's all I gotta say. When you first see this, because look, I'm trying to cram all this in, which is not a good thing. But then what's your answer to this? Well, it's just negative 15, right? I'll squeeze it in here. So it's negative 15, and then it's negative 12, and then it's 25, and then it's 12. Okay? And that's your final answer right there. That's how you get it. You just got to practice it. That's what I do with the fingers. Okay, I go bam, bam, move it like this. Then you do the other one, right? You move that one over. You go this one, this one. Then you move this one down. You go this one, this one. You go this one, this one. All right? So that's what we're going to do. I think I probably explain it much better.
Also just for C or something.
Yeah. Yep, that was on purpose.
Okay.
Because I just thought it would take too long for you to solve for the whole entire triangle. So I just gave you one to solve for.
So that's all cosine?
I'm not telling you that. You have to decide that. All right? What about this one? Let's do this one again. So we would do what? This times this, which is negative 2, and then you go this one and this one. Okay, which is 0. Positive 2 and 0. So that'll give you, right? Does that make sense? So you get a 2. Whoops. Ooh, what happened there? So you get a 2, right? And then plus a 0, which is 2. And then you go down here, right? And you go this one and this one, which is negative 10. And then this one and this one, which is negative 21. Right? Negative 10 minus 21 is negative 31, and then that is your answer. Right? So you go across and down, you go across and down. All right? What about this one? I'm not going to write all the numbers down because it's get too confusing, but watch. You go across and down. So what are you going to do? 3 times 1. 5 times 5, 1 times 1. Everybody get that? And once you do that, I'll show you what the answer is so you can practice it yourself. You would get a 29 out of that. All right? And then, come on. Let me try to grab that thing. Why can I not grab that? What happened? There we go. And there we go. So that would be, what I say, 29? All right, and now, what do? I go across this one and down this one. So what are my numbers? 3 times 2, 6. 5 times -3, -15. 1 times 7 is 7. When you add all those up, you should get a -2. You can do that on your own. You can write it down and see. Now what do? Still stay on the same row, and now we go down this column. Is it making a little more sense now? So you multiply these two. 3 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. 1 times 2, or -2 is -2. You add those up, and you get 8. So that's the first row times all 3 of those columns. All right? Why do I keep doing that? There we go. So now, where are we going to go? To the second row. So we're going to do that times this. Oh, I got rid of that number because everything keeps clicking off. What was this? An 8? Okay. Now we do this row times this column. So 7 times 1 is 7. 0 times 5 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. You add all those up, and you get a 9. Then we do it to the second column. 7 times 2 is 14. 0 times -3 is 0. 2 times 7 is 14. You add all those up, and you get 28. Then you take that second row and multiply it by the third column. All right, you getting the hang of this? All right, so 7 times 0 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. 2 times -2 is -2, and that gives you -4. Now what do you think we're going to do? Oops, come on. Why do I? There it goes. So let's get rid of all these lines right here. All right, there we go. Now what do? We take this row times this column, times this column, times this column. So we take, what's that, a -2, right? So -2 times 1, 1 times 5, -1 times 1. You add all those up, and you get a 2. Then you take that same row, multiply it by the second column. Multiply all those individual ones together, and you get a -14. Then you take that row, and you multiply it by the third column. You multiply all those individually, add them all up, and you get a +4, and that is your answer. That's how you multiply matrices together. So we struggled a little on this one, all right, because I was trying to remember the multiplication thing too. But then after we got going, it kind of makes sense, right? You take the first row times the first column. Then you take that first row times the second column. When I say times, you're multiplying individually, but then after you multiply the first element, you multiply the second elements, and you add them up, all right? Then once you're done doing that, you take the second row, you multiply it by those, and then that row times these. And that's how you're going to get these numbers right here. Okay? All right. Should have started with another chapter and then gone back to this. Okay. So what are we on, 13 now? Oh, that's stuff. Yeah, just my writing went down here. Okay, I still got to do this. I'll staple it. Just put it right there. All right, here's another word. It's let me clean this up a little bit. Let's get rid of all this mess. Hit that. Oops. Let's try this. All right, now we got some room. All right, this word determinant. Don't worry about why we use it, but here's what we do. Do you remember how to find the determinant? you multiply those together, right? So you go from the top left to the bottom right, and then, so let's do that. 5 times 6 is 30. And then you subtract these two right here. Just have to remember the pattern. Once you remember the pattern, it's not hard to do. So you take the top left one, bottom right one, you multiply those together. Then you take the other two. You got to do it in that order, though. It's important that you do it in order. You start with that top left one, and you just multiply diagonally, and you subtract those two numbers. All right, so that would be what? 21, and that would give you, yep, that would just give you 9. And that's your answer. That's the determinant. We're not multiplying matrices together. We're finding the determinant of it. This one's a little more complicated. I know. It's the first time you've seen it, and I would never try to teach all of this in one shot. But that's what we're doing. That's what review is. But we're not trying to teach it. It shouldn't be taught from scratch, but you came in late, so that's how it works. Let's see. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that on hold, all right, because it's kind of overwhelming. So I'm going to put it on hold. We'll come back to this one tomorrow, all right? And we only got 5 minutes anyway, about 6 minutes left anyway. Let's do something that we might be a little more familiar with, and we'll come back to this, all right? So I think I'm losing a lot of you. And to tell you the truth, I need to go back and review it a little bit better just because it's not fresh in my mind either, okay? And it's probably not fresh in your mind, even if you were here for this stuff. So we'll come back to this tomorrow. Is that all right? All right. But for you guys that are brand new, go through that lesson. Go through that chapter 4, okay? The first couple lessons you probably don't need to do. But when you get to this matrix multiplication or matrix product stuff, I don't know what lesson it is, but you just flip through it. It'll probably say product of matrix or matrix multiplication or something like that. Then you can see the locker thing. So watch that lesson, okay? And then we'll go through more of this tomorrow. All right, let's do some of this. Who knew that looking at this would be more refreshing than doing the other stuff, okay? So let's do this one, all right? 3x minus 5, and that whole thing's squared. What's the key thing to know to do to this? Is you multiply it by itself, right? You've seen that, right? A lot of this is Algebra 1, well, maybe upper level Algebra 1 stuff, right? But this is how you multiply it. And so now what do we do here? We just distribute, right? FOIL, if you want to call it that. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared. And then what's this going to be? Minus 15x, then another minus 15x, and then a plus 25. And then we get 9x squared minus 30x plus 25. We good? Who knew looking at this, you'd say, oh, that's so much easier than the other stuff. All right. What about this one? What do we do here? Another distributive property, right? But you got 3 things. So there's a lot more to this than the first one. It's fine. All right, so let's do this one. This is not really FOIL method, but it is distributive property. We take the first one, we multiply it by everything in the other parentheses. Okay? So let's do that. What do we got? X squared times 2x, what's that? 2x what? To the 4th, right. And then we take the x squared times the 5x. It's going to be what? Plus 5x cubed. Then we take the x squared times the 9. That gives me plus 9x squared. So that was easy, wasn't it? Sure. Now what do? Take the second thing. I'm not going to draw the lines because that would make a huge mess. It's already messy enough. All right, so I'm going to take that second one and multiply it by everything. So what do we get? 3x times 2x squared, that would be 6x cubed, correct? Then we take the 3x times this, that's 15x squared. And then we take that 3x times the 9, so that's 27x. Still not done. We got one more thing to multiply. We got this negative 2. All right? I'll do the arrows on this one. Okay? We multiply that. So what do we get? Negative 4x squared, negative 10x, and negative 18. There we go. It's not done, though. What do we have to do with this? We got to simplify it. So let's go in order, right, from the highest power all the way down. So what's the highest exponent here? The x to the 4th. Is there anything else that has x to the 4th? Nope. So I just write 2x to the 4th. And I'm done with that. What's the next highest one? Cubed. So I got 5x cubed. I only got these two, right? Yep. 5x cubed plus 6x cubed is 11x cubed. Done with that. What about this one? X squared. I got 3x squareds, don't I? So 9 and 15, that's 24. Minus 4 is 20. Check my arithmetic, make sure I'm doing this right. They're all x squareds, so I got that. What else? Just the x's. 27x minus 10x is 17x. Done with those. And then minus 18. And there you go. A little lengthy, a little tedious, but it wasn't that hard. Just distributive property. Now, we first teach distributive property, but then we go to factoring. So it's kind of like the opposite of distributive property. All right, so let's do this. How are we going to factor that? What does it mean to factor? It means what number times something else, right? What numbers multiply together to give you this? Well, the first thing we're going to do is to see if there's a common factor. Is there anything in common with all three of these? I got a 4, a 10, and a negative 6. Is there anything in common with those? Sure. What? Talk to me. Even if you're not taking the test, somebody tell me. 2. There's a 2 in common, all right? So we factor out a 2. What else? I got an x. In all three of these, I have at least an x, don't I? So I factor out an x. Let's see what we have after doing that. If I factor out an x, what am I doing? I'm dividing it, aren't I? So it's 4x cubed divided by 2x. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. X cubed divided by x is x squared. Now I factor out a 2x from this. So I'm dividing this by a 2x. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. X squared divided by x is just an x. Put a minus. Again, we're going to factor out a 2x from this. If I factor out a 2 from that or divide it, it's a 3. Factor out an x, the x's cancel, and that's that. But we're not done. All right, because we can factor this whole parentheses right here. So I'm going to put a 2x here, and I want to figure out what times what is going to equal this. To tell you the truth, the easiest way to do this is probably just a little guessing and checking. All right? So what do I mean? It means this first term times this first term has to be 2x squared. Oh my. So that's a 2x, and that's an x. And then this will be a minus 1. This will be a plus 3. I'll just show you the answer. How do I know if that's right? Because these have to multiply to be 2x squared. All right? These have to multiply to be negative 3, and these two also have to add up to be what? Did I do that right? Minus. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Hold up. So this is 6x, okay, and this is minus 1x, and that gives you a 5x. All right? So that is how you factor it. All right, what was your question? Yeah, I kept it here because I thought somebody dropped it, so you're welcome.